Happy New Year. I'm kidding.
It's June.
Say our names and we appear. Vacant Wrestling Podcast. Yeah. What's going on, everybody? Told you I had a good start. I'm 2 for 2 on these good starts, man. What's up, everybody? My name is Tyler. Huge thank you to everybody for an amazing week. As you probably know, most of you might know, we've been branching out a little more. So we've been a podcast for a few years on and off, but we started branching into TikTok a little bit, making a lot of TikTok content, YouTube shorts. We're on YouTube making review shows of Raw and SmackDown as well. It's been an absolute blast. So I just wanted to take a quick sec to thank you all for your support in this new endeavor. But yeah, joining me today is my good friend and Money in the Bank tourist partner, Yusuf. What's going on, Yusuf?
Hey, that is me. Technically not a tourist because I'm from Toronto, but you get the idea.
You're right. I'll be touring, and he'll be my tour guide in the
much.
wonderful, wacky world of Bizarro Land. And man, just jumping right into things, this week has probably been the greatest week of WWE television I think anyone has ever seen. Like, from the beginning of Raw, Seth Rollins just pops in out of nowhere. We end Raw with the Wyatt Six debuting in probably the greatest debut in wrestling history, and that might be some glaze. I'll admit, it might be a little glaze in there. I think it was freaking awesome. NXT in the middle there. We got a pit stop down in Florida, and NXT. Joe freaking Hendry shows up, and NXT immediately gets tossed out, but he was there. We said his name, and he appeared. And on Friday on SmackDown, we had CM Punk. We had Drew McIntyre, even though he said he was quitting 4 days before. And we closed that show with the debut of Jacob Fatu joining the Bloodline. So a whole lot of news. But yeah, what do you think about this week, man? What did you think about it? Was it the best week of WWE television?
Yeah. Yeah, like a lot happened. And like, yes, you just went through everything, but like it's insane to think that all this has happened in a short amount of time. It's only been a few days, right, between a Monday and a Friday.
Yep.
But the fact that we've got returns, we have debuts, we have unannounced returns, freaking unannounced debuts, like we had like the whole shebang this week. And it's, I think for every, because there's not, I can't find a lot of low points from this week, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Like
I'm hard pressed to find any. Even
like
the lowest
Monday,
points
the
were
fact
pretty
that,
good.
Yeah, like the fact that Monday Night Raw has Seth Rollins coming back completely unannounced, and that he wants the title back. You're like, okay,
Yeah.
he's healed already. Apparently, who knew that he could come back from an ACL and MCL and whatever the hell else he tear in like what 6 months. Well,
Yeah,
it's only been like 3 since Mania, but like he tore his MCL back in January or something, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Seeing Joe Hendry in NXT, awesome. This is not the last we've seen of him. This is not the last.
Not at all.
Of him. No. And
nope. And that's the best part of it too, is that like it was very obviously set up for more appearances down the line. Like this isn't the end of Joe Gacy. I was about to say Joe Gacy, Joe Hendry in WWE.
No, Joe Gacy's busy doing the other thing now.
He'll also be around.
He will also be around.
Let's just say that.
Like,
he'll be around.
That I want to bring up too is like, the whole Wyatt Six thing. Like, I don't know if you could call it the greatest debut in WWE history, but
that's fair.
Man, that was cool.
It was freaking awesome, dude.
It was artistic in a way where like they put a lot of thought into this.
Yeah.
It's
very much
like,
so.
It reminds me, I don't want to sidebar too much on this because I do want to talk about other things, but
yeah,
it reminds me a lot about, and God bless his soul, but it reminds me about when Bray came back.
Yeah.
When they kill the lights, there's the lantern, and then you have these like people that are dressed as the different puppets but like accurately as the puppets from the Funhouse, so you had someone as Mercy the Buzzard, you had someone as Huskus the Pig Boy, someone as Patty the Witch, you had Ramblin' Rabbit, and then you had someone dressed as the Fiend.
Yep.
Which was obviously cool at the time. Now, fast forward, and you have the debut of this new group where they're all different iterations of the puppets.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, like how would hear me out, right?
Okay.
Are you aware that there's like a Winnie the Pooh horror movie?
Oh, I'm aware. I'm very much aware. I'm aware of all of the what's it called? The fair use,
the fair use, bullshit.
all that. The Mickey Mouse, the Steamboat Willie horror movie. Yeah, I'm there for that too.
Yeah. So, what kills me about those was that it's just these like big dudes in like deranged like pig or bear or like tiger masks, and in the sequel like Tigger appears and shit.
Yeah.
And I was like, I really don't know if they're gonna go that kind of route because that's just corny. But the way they did it for, you know, like for the whole Mercy the Buzzard thing, which I believe is Dexter Loomis, for Huskies the Pig Boy, which is Joe Gacy. Like I looked at those outfits and I was like, oh fuck, this is good. I need this group to be the most dangerous thing in the company.
Yeah,
they cannot fuck this up.
There's a very specific way I think that they need to be booked, and I'll get into that a little later. Okay. But there's definitely, like, in my opinion, if it's going to be different from previous Bray Wyatt-esque, the Bray Wyatt universe, the previous acts of that universe, then this needs to be this has to be a completely different thing, and we'll get to it a little bit later. Sure. But yeah, and then
like, for all that, and then like. That was awesome. Joe Hendry the next night was great. People loved that pop was insane. Oh my god!
I said it on TikTok. That was the biggest pop in NXT history, I think, out of that Capitol Wrestling Center. Because I know the pop was huge when Trick won the title, but the pop when Joe Hendry showed up and you could see the crowd of everyone singing "I Believe Joe Hendry."
That's the nice thing about this day and age in wrestling is that WWE fans are aware of everyone outside of WWE now because the internet exists. We see these things on Twitter or on YouTube or whatever, right? So people know about the existence of Joe Hendry, and Joe Hendry has gotten himself over for like the last few years anyway. So he's done a good job, and it's good that people are aware of these talents outside of WWE, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, like the debut of Hendry was great, and then SmackDown as a whole was a pretty solid show. I missed the main event because I was out. But
you really missed nothing. The match itself was like maybe 3-4 minutes, but then once that happened, and I was like, oh, there's like it was one of those. It was similar to like how I felt on Monday after Jay won that triple threat, where it was like, oh, okay, there's like 10 minutes left. We got to let him cook here. They're gonna do something else,
right? And like all things considered, SmackDown was a fine show, but to end it the way it did... Well, actually, the Drew McIntyre thing was cool, but we can get to that later. But to end it the way they did in Chicago, where they knew that like something out of the blue would get like a crazy pop because Chicago, to end it with Jacob Fatu finally making his debut in the company, part of me was just like... This is gonna get good. Now. Like, I've never been so excited for a member of the Samoan wrestling family to join the WWE than I have been for Jacob Fatu.
Yeah, man. Like, there's rumors now already that like Zilla Fatu is next. Obviously, they have history. Jacob and Zilla were teaming for a while.
Zilla Fatu is potentially there. Hikuleo, the younger brother of Tama and Tongaloa, is potentially joining the company.
Now, I could actually see him joining the OG bloodline. I could see him joining Roman and the Usos, to be honest. I don't know why. I just get that vibe. I think it could be a good fit.
Maybe it could. Maybe it might not be. I mean, we'll have to see because we're going to get to a point where there's too many cooks in the kitchen. And
we're already getting to the point. There's a lot of Samoans and Tongans in there,
which like I don't mind at all because a lot of these guys are from the Indies, and I've been following these dudes for years now. But the other thing too is we're supposed to be setting up that War Games match, right? Like the inevitable end of this whole thing is that War Games match, and we're assuming it's going to be a 4-on-4. Now, someone on TikTok, and I can't remember who it was, but they were saying, what if it's 5-on-5?
It could be.
Right. What if it's 5-on-5?
And honestly, you could have Roman, you could have Jimmy and Jay, and you could have Sammy, and honestly, call me crazy, you could have Cody as the 5th guy.
I'm going to quickly... Hear me out. Hold on. No, the reason I bring this up is because the point that was made was like, at first you probably think like Cody, and you're like, can Roman and Cody coexist after, Cody literally took the title away from him?
Yeah.
So this is from a dude on TikTok who goes by the @JohnBoyBebop, so shout out to you. So he brought up the idea of the 5th member being Seth Rollins.
I could see that as well.
Like,
I could definitely see that as well.
Because like the idea of Roman and Cody coexisting is one thing, but now the idea of Roman having to coexist with the man who literally ruined his life for so long, like the reason the Shield broke up, the reason Roman's been trying to chase his title for years, the man that's never been able to get out of Roman's head, and ultimately the reason Roman lost the title.
Man, yeah, and I could see that. And Seth Rollins is definitely heavily intertwined in all of this, because not only could that be a thing, but I honestly, since Cody beat Roman, have been clamoring for a Seth Rollins-Cody Rhodes WWE title match. And it wouldn't shock me if Cody happened to win the Royal Rumble in 2025. I don't know when they're going to do this Rock match, but Seth can't challenge Cody right now because of brand split. The only way it can happen is Money in the Bank, which he's not in, or the Royal Rumble.
Or Seth wins the Rumble, which like...
And honestly, like a heel Seth, like, listen, Cody, like, I literally broke my body for you. I lost my title. I broke my body. I went to the ends of the earth to make sure you walked out with that championship after I offered you a match at WrestleMania, and now here's your opportunity, or here's my opportunity to finally get your title and get the win that he desperately needs over Cody, because Cody's 3-0 over Seth. So
yeah, exactly. So but you know what? Like, overall, really good week for wrestling. The fact that Money in the Bank is still another 2 weeks away. I'm kind of curious what happens next week leading into it. Yeah. So, yeah.
Absolutely. So let's jump into this week. So, like I said, like we talked about already a bit, starting out Raw, literally just cold start of just burn it down. And the crowd goes absolutely insane in Corpus Christi, Texas. Seth comes out. He declares that he wants the World Heavyweight Championship back that he lost. And Damian Priest came out to then challenge Seth Rollins for a World Heavyweight Championship match at Money in the Bank. So initially Seth was like, listen, the only way I can get my belt back is by winning Money in the Bank. And he's done it before. He alluded to that a bit. He's like, I kind of know how this stuff works, which is so funny, actually, because Damian was like telling Gunther, like, I won Money in the Bank. I cashed in and won this title. Don't you know how this works? So it's kind of funny how that happened. But yeah, so Priest then comes out and is like, listen, like, you're the guy that I wanted to beat to win the title because you made the title what it was. And I didn't get the chance because Drew beat you. So now is my chance to prove to the world that I am the best World Heavyweight Champion, and I will beat you at Money in the Bank. And then Seth, obviously, he's not gonna disagree to that. He's definitely gonna accept this match. So the match at Money in the Bank is now Seth Rollins challenging Damian Priest for the World Heavyweight Championship. And if you've been paying attention to TikTok, you probably know that I think Seth Rollins might win the title back here. I think Seth might do it, but we'll get to that in a sec. I'm sure. One other quick thing to note about this segment: Damian Priest actually admitted that Judgment Day didn't know that he was going out there to talk to Seth. So they've kind of been playing on this tension within Judgment Day recently, and there's been a separation, right? There's been Damian Priest and his story as world champion, and there's been everybody else in Judgment Day with Liv Morgan and all of that story. So Damian's been wrapped up in keeping the world title, and he's kind of removed from this Liv Morgan situation. So it's interesting for all that to happen. What are your thoughts, man?
I think part of it is like, it all intertwines, right? Like, Damian's sort of focusing on actually being world champion now. Because I think at first, like, you know, when he cashed in and won the title at Mania, it was more, the Judgment Day did it, woohoo, we're family, yeah, Damian, go Damian, woo, right? And, like, I don't know if you want to call it a blessing in disguise, because I don't like calling injuries a blessing in disguise, but, you know, Rhea being gone and the whole Liv Morgan story has really made things interesting within, like, the inner workings of the Judgment Day. And it's a nice backdrop away from Damian being like, okay, I need to be serious as world champion, you know? Like, he understands he has a target on his back. We talked about this last episode, but that post-show presser he did was, like, one of the best promos I've ever seen him cut, where he talks about, like, he's fully aware that he's a target, right? He's got to put up or shut up and, you know, all these things. And he also realizes that, like, the guys he's going to defend the title against aren't chumps, right? He's already defended the title against Drew. Seth Rollins is next, right? And so it's him trying to focus more on being champ and not getting worried about the eventual custody of Dominic ladder match. And, like, I really do like it from Damian. It builds a lot into his character. I don't know if Seth wins.
I mean, that's fair. I would say that it's pretty accurate. It's pretty reasonable for either outcome to happen. Given the track record of this current regime, I would like Damian to win, and I think that's the outcome. But
yeah, so here's my thinking with that. Right, is as much as I would love to see Seth Rollins and Gunther for the world title at SummerSlam, which would be great. Think about it like this: Damian as world champ has already had, I don't want to call it trouble, but he had a not ideally great time defending that title against Drew McIntyre. You know, he didn't ask for it, but it did involve some outside help for him to retain that title. Facing Seth Rollins, I think he goes over and I think he retains just because he sort of proves, like, yeah, I can be that guy, you know, I can defend this title on my own, I don't need the Judgment Day, what have you, I can take on anything in my path. Well, that's great, Damian, but I hope you're aware that the second you're done with Seth, the next thing in your path is already laid out for you, and that is a 6'4" Austrian man who is more than likely going to kill you. And I think that's where we see this dissension of Damian Priest's character, where, you know, he loses the belt and it becomes a moment of Judgment Day being like, see, you needed us. Like, you left us to defend this title thinking you could do it on your own. No, you needed us from the start. Like, you needed us there constantly to help you retain the title because you are nothing without the Judgment Day. And then that's, I think, where we get the eventual Damian versus Finn feud, as much as I would want it to be for the title. I think we leave that alone. Obviously, the title goes on Gunther and Bob's your uncle. But yeah, Damian probably wins at Money in the Bank.
Yeah, I mean, that's solid. I think that that's definitely what I would say should happen in my world of wrestling, in my own brain. Part of me is still stuck in the ways of the old regime, man. Like, we have SummerSlam coming up. This is the second biggest pay-per-view of the year, and to be honest, a match for the World Heavyweight Championship between Damian Priest and Gunther doesn't do it for me in the way that Seth Rollins versus Gunther does it for me. You know what I mean? From a on-paper advertising marketability standpoint, that match just sticks out a lot more.
Seth Rollins versus Gunther definitely sells better. It puts butts in seats, for sure.
It does.
But I think, I'd hope that, assuming Damian retains the title at Money in the Bank against Seth Rollins, that really helps his stock.
Yeah.
You know, so that come SummerSlam, it'll be a must-see match of scary Austrian man versus guy who hopes he can survive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thought that I had that could get us to this moment of to the scenario of Seth versus Gunther is, well, to preface, I don't really know what Seth does outside of the World Heavyweight Championship at SummerSlam. So I don't know who Seth could be feuding with at SummerSlam after he loses to Damian, hypothetically. But I could also see a triple threat for the World Heavyweight title. I don't know how Seth works his way in if Damian's still champion, unless Seth wins it himself. But we could see that, maybe. But I don't know who else on Raw is there for Seth to feud with. And I'll be proven wrong. I'm sure if there's another plan, and there is a plan for Seth to have a singles match against somebody, it'll be great. It's going to be great. But what I think could happen is, we've had the story, right, of Damian Priest being like, listen, I'm the world champ. I got this. I don't need your help, Judgment Day. But they come out and help anyway, and it's usually to his detriment, right? So he's always like, guys, I told you, I don't need your help. Get out of here. Now, what if for this time, after, you know, because with this, there was a segment on Raw where there was some tension brewing between Damian and Finn. And that's the strongest unit within the Judgment Days, or should be, between the two of these guys. It's been played up to be that way. Now, what if he pisses off Finn and the rest of the group so much by saying, I don't need your help, get out of here, that at SummerSlam, he actually wants their help, but they don't help, and Seth wins and wins the title. That could be the scenario that I see happening there, but again, there's more than one way that this plays out. This is a new era in wrestling, and this is what it's all about. So I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
I can see that happening, but if they want to run, this is just like thought. If they want to run the fun, long-term, accidental continuity angle, where Damian says, I don't need you guys, Finn Balor goes, yeah, but you know what I like seeing? Seth Rollins not winning titles because Finn's got some bad PTSD from all that.
Yeah.
So he's like, what if I just help Damian anyway? Because I don't want to see Seth with another world championship, right?
You know, you just checked me. You just checked my king.
Yeah. Like,
dang.
That's the thing, right? It's like, it's funny how they've been able to plug up or like fill in bits and pieces in these stories using things that we knew from, what was that, 7 years ago now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
A long time ago.
It's crazy.
Like,
let's talk more a little bit about let's talk a little more about Judgment Day as well. So the opening match on Raw, a Money in the Bank. Actually, I'm sorry, it might not have been the opening match. I could be mistaken, but there was a Money in the Bank qualifying match, triple threat. Which is interesting that they've been going all triple threats, but that's another story. Io Sky defeats Zelina Vega and Kiana James. So Io Sky is the first lady to qualify for the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. So in a backstage segment earlier in the night, Dom is like, I don't know where my cow print vest is. It's this ugly purple vest that's in the pattern of cow print. And then later on in the night when this match happens, Liv comes out to ringside wearing Dom's missing vest. And this distracts Zelina Vega, allows Sky to pick up the win. So we're furthering this storyline between Liv trying to get in Dom's pants, the feud between the Judgment Day and the LWO. I think where we go from here is Liv versus Zelina for the Women's World Championship, and some sort of we're going to get some sort of tag match down the line where it's Finn or Carlito, JD, and Dom against Ray and Dragon Lee and Braun Strowman, and maybe they throw in Finn on Judgment Day and they throw in Joaquin Wilde on LWO side 8-man tag. At some point, I think that's what we're getting. But yeah, the interesting match, and Io Sky is a solid get for that Money in the Bank. Can she repeat?
That'd be cool if she did.
It would be. It would be. She's not built. She's not built for it, but like right now. But
no,
she could.
I also wonder how, because Money in the Bank's on the 6th of July, right?
I believe so.
On the 6th, right? Yeah, because a week later she's going to be in Japan wrestling Utami Hayashishita. So imagine she shows up at Miracle.
Is she going to cash in on their title?
I was going to say though, I am getting so horrendously bored of the LWO.
Yeah, me too.
It's just nothing's happening. They're not going for tag titles. Ray's not going for any like a mid-card title.
Nope.
Like, it's just you have a literal Hall of Fame like legend of a luchador in Rey Mysterio. Mm-hmm. You've got, who the hell else is even in LW?
Dragon Lee.
Okay, and that's the name where this is a dude who has made multiple Best of the Super Junior finals, and I know we don't take that into account, but this is a guy who you can trust to main event a show. Yep. And put on a really good match. But
and do lucha things?
Yeah, do lucha things.
No, I'm kidding. That was another luchador.
If you don't talk about him. But Dragon Lee is just kind of being, I'm not going to say wasted, but just underutilized for what he's good at.
Yep.
And Zelina Vega's great. I've begun to like her more over the years.
Mm-hmm.
I just wish they would do something practical with her, like win a title. But the problem
Yeah.
is the title scene is so... You know what my issue is? We talked about this a while ago, but the whole, like, we kind of know what direction titles are going in at some point, like with the... Whichever one it is that Liv's holding now. Is it the Women's
World?
The Women's World title? Okay, yeah. Rhea's getting that back eventually.
Yeah, yeah. She's holding it for Rhea to come back and win it from her.
Exactly. So the problem is she's holding it for Rhea when Rhea gets back. We don't know when that is. So
we don't.
Zelina, sorry, love you, but like, yeah, unless she wins Money in the Bank and then, but she's not going to be in the match. So then, alternatively, you're like, well, okay, what else can you do? Like, there's no other female wrestler in LWO, so you can't go for the tag titles.
Nope.
So you're just kind of like, you're stuck. And like, anytime I hear LWO now, I'm just like, turn Dragon Lee heel. No, seriously, like, hear me out. Turn Dragon Lee heel. Let him, and not like the bullshit they did with Carlito.
I was gonna say, you're just wanting another Carlito story.
No, but you do it better. You turn Dragon Lee heel, and you you have Dragon Lee basically go, look, Rey Mysterio, I looked up to you for years, and all I've done under your wing is jack shit. You give them a match, like, let it main event of SmackDown, or hell, let it be like the opener of a PLE.
Yep.
Give them 25 minutes to do whatever the hell they want, and I assure you, you will watch one of the greatest matches in your life.
One of the greatest matches to ever be on a WWE Countdown show.
Unfortunately.
Yes. Another thing to note too. Speaking of Liv and the whole Liv and JD, the Liv and Dom screwing with Judgment Day. I seriously think this is Liv's plan to implode Judgment Day from within, because Judgment Day is what gave Rhea Ripley the influence and power to then climb the ranks and get the Women's World title. So I think this is part of Liv's plan to take everything from Rhea. So at one point, Damian is backstage, and Damian and Finn are in the clubhouse backstage. Actually, it's all of Judgment Day. And Damian asks Finn what his intentions were when he snuck Liv's hotel room key in his pocket on the previous episode of Raw. So if you missed it, they were backstage, and Dom was like, "Listen, I got this key from Liv, and I don't want to use it." And they're like, "It's fine. You know, we're brothers. We're all solid. You're not gonna do that. We're all gonna be fine." And they all are like, "Yeah, like, all solidarity. Great, love it." And then Finn takes the key, swipes it, and puts it in his pocket. And this is kind of swept under the rug a bit. It's kind of kept to the side. And this week they talk about it. So first off, love the continuity of the fact that Damian is actually watching the product, because Damian was able to catch that Finn slipped the key in his pocket. He wouldn't have known that unless he watched the previous episode of Raw. And Finn got very, very defensive. Finn was like, "Whoa, man! Like, why would you ever say that to me? Why would you think I would be, taking her up on this offer? Like, we're brothers, man. You should be trusting me. We were tag team champions." So this was like the first moment I saw where, like, Finn was directly confrontational with Damian Priest. And so this could be the start of the breakdown of Judgment Day, and it could just be because of Liv Morgan and in getting everybody uncomfortable and on edge and suspicious of her actions, and almost turning against each other out of suspicion. So, yeah. And then later on that evening, Dom is looking for the vest after the match where Liv came out with it on. So he's looking for the vest. Liv's like, Dom, and he looks over, and she's down a hallway, and she's like, "You can have it back, but you have to take it off me." So Dom is like, "Oh, I really have to take this off of you?" And I'm like, "Dom, come on. We know you're actually, like, all about it. It's Liv Morgan. Come on, who wouldn't?" So he goes to unzip it. He's looking very uncomfortable, and then Damian Priest comes around a corner as he's doing this, and he's like, "Dom, what are you doing?" In, like, his deep-ass, like, Damian Priest voice. So once again, Liv Morgan, whether it's actually working or not, her advances on Dom, what is working is the fact that it's breaking down all the trust within the Judgment Day. And I think that that's the end goal there.
Whoa. I think it's... I never thought this would be how the Judgment Day implodes, but I am all for it. Because it is getting ridiculous to the point where the fact, like, it's insane that this is all setting up the inevitable Rhea versus Liv match, which will then set up the inevitable custody of Dominic ladder match to Electric Boogaloo.
Man, I hope that doesn't happen. As funny as that would be, though.
I know.
It would be funny, but, like, can't they just make it a ladder match for the women's world title and, like, make that be the representative of the custody of Dominic? Because, listen, this man is a grown man with a wife and a girlfriend and a side chick now, apparently. Yeah. So, you know, I think the world title needs to be front and center there.
It does. But it's interesting that this is how they're running the Judgment Day implosion, because I think for the longest time a lot of us thought it was going to be Finn and Damian not seeing eye to eye on certain things, and, like, you know, the world title being involved and something happens there. I'm going to be honest, I've been thinking that it would have, like, something would have to do with JD McDonough, because he's not doing shit right now.
Bro, but Judgment Day just keeps taking guys in. I mean, because, like, Damian's like
Carlito's there now.
they took JD, and Damian's like, no, I don't want this guy in here. I don't want him here. And they're like, and come on. Around, they're like, pretty please, Damian. Pretty please, can we have our friend JD in the group? Oh, and he's like, and eventually he's like, fine, you're in the group. You're in the Judgment Day.
Finn's just like, he's me, but younger and not as handsome. Please.
Yeah.
I trained him. And you're like, okay, fine. Right? You're like, let him do something. He's not doing anything.
But then Carlito, like, bro, what are you doing?
Where did that come from? Like, Carlito? Okay.
I mean,
like, you got bored?
I can't tell if it's like, I think it's like a temporary alliance, though. It's like Braun and the LWO. Like, it's only for this storyline. I think once all this stuff happens and it's over with the LWO, I think they'll finally break that down. I think they're also waiting to try and figure out what their next move is with Carlito, because I feel like they have no fucking clue what they're doing with Carlito. And like, I normally would be pissed about this, but they know what they're doing with so many other things that I don't care.
I don't think they need a next step with Carlito. I really don't.
No.
I say that because Carlito's awesome. Now, here's the thing. When I was growing up watching wrestling, watching Carlito, you know, when he was in his feud with John Cena and he got someone to stab him. Remember that, kids? Oh. And now then Carlito had merit, because it was this different character, this, like, bad boy who just does not respect anybody. And he's still the same guy 17 years later. That's a long time. Because now you have to ask, like, what good can Carlito be a part of in 2024 in this new era of wrestling?
Yep. It's you gotta Carlito. You just gotta be cool.
Yeah, just be cool. Chuck an apple at someone. I don't know, like,
yeah. And bring his old goddamn theme back. His new theme sucks so bad. Oh my god, it's so bad.
It's the same thing when you talk about, like, a lot of guys from that generation. Like, you know, I know people are asking about, like, the quick side tangent, but
all good.
You know, people are talking about Jeff Hardy no longer being on contract with AEW, and they're like, what if we bring him back for one more run? And I'm like, he's 40-something years old and he might die. Let's not do that.
Yeah, like, he's old.
Like the Jeff Hardy in 2008 is not the same Jeff Hardy now.
Yeah.
Very different people. Like,
listen, if he wants to do it, he's a grown man. I'm not, but based on the context and my knowledge about wrestlers and how their bodies are and how they break down as they age, I personally think that Jeff is not equipped for that kind of run. I think he's equipped for a Legends deal and a Hall of Fame induction with Matt, and I think that's about it. I think that's about it.
Jeff hasn't been 100% for that kind of stuff in quite some time.
Mm-mm.
You know, but yeah, like with Carlito, it's like, what are we doing at this point with him?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Is he gonna feud with someone? Because, like, he hasn't had a singles match with Ray yet, has he? It's just been tag matches.
You know, I think you're right. I don't know if he has. I think he had a singles match with Dragon Lee.
See,
but I don't think he had one with Ray.
I've been so bored of this LWO thing that, like, what? No one knows what the fuck's going on. Well, okay, people do.
Yeah.
I don't. Like, I'll be honest there. Just like, what?
Yeah, no.
Do something.
I don't know what's going on.
Like,
I'm more involved with what's going on with Judgment Day. And I think at the end of I think Judgment Day will win. I just don't know when.
Yeah, the thing with Judgment Day is like every few years there's always a big faction implosion storyline in any wrestling company. We've had that in WWE with Evolution, like not a faction but a tag team, famously with the Mega Powers, right? We've had that with, what am I thinking of? The Shield, obviously.
Obviously.
Right? Not a breakup, but like the Bloodline, the whole thing that was going on inside the Bloodline. Yep. You look at other companies, like I think famously one of my favorite implosions ever is the Main Event Mafia.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Like the original Mafia, when everything just completely went to shit for them. I think that's kind of the route that Judgment Day is going to go, where they start to have a little bit of like better luck with things, but there's still a constant amount of fucking infighting between all of them, and that was a big part of the Mafia. Was like Sting was winning the world title, Kurt Angle was doing really good, Joe, Steiner, Nash, Booker, they were all like winning belts and they were doing great things. But there was a constant amount of infighting between Kurt Angle and Sting as to who was the real leader of the Mafia.
Yep.
And I feel like we're gonna get there with Finn and Damian.
Especially with like the way Damian kind of assumed power as the head of Judgment Day, you know?
Well, I think he assumed power because he happens to hold a world title.
Well, I'm thinking even back for War Games. Remember War Games when it was like, who is the leader of Judgment Day? And like, they were like, Judgment Day doesn't have a leader, but then eventually Damian got pissed off. It was like, I'm the leader of Judgment Day. And everyone was like, whoa, and that's big.
It's definitely confusing, but you're like, okay, sure.
Right.
But yeah, we, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with,
Nope.
If I had to guess when the implosion happens, I'm going to say SummerSlam.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I could see it.
SummerSlam. I think assuming Damian retains against Seth at Money in the Bank and defends against Gunther at SummerSlam, Damian loses the title. I think by then we're getting close to a Rhea Ripley return, so...
I think so. I think SummerSlam was the initial date, but I think that it got pushed a little bit longer than they expected.
But we're getting somewhere. On the topic of pushing things back, I feel like us ranting about this shit is just pushing time back on the show, so let's keep going.
Yeah, man. I was actually going to say one last quick note, because I'm kind of sticking, and rather than like going in order of the show, I've kind of been going in order of the stories. So one last thing to involve with Judgment Day is the main event match. Jey Uso defeated Rey Mysterio and Finn Balor in a triple threat to qualify for the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. So with Rey and Finn there was a little bit of dynamic. Dom and JD and Carlito interfered to try and cost Rey. Braun Strowman came out to make the save. So there was a little more of that in there, but it was very much like just kind of there. Jey won the match. That's really the big point.
The Finn Balor not being in the match does not help my case of saying Finn was going to win Money in the Bank.
Well, here's the thing. They had 3 men's qualifying matches this week between 2 on Raw, 1 on SmackDown. Next week, they're going to have 2 men's qualifying matches. So that means there's 5 slots. So there's 1 left, and it's a 6-slot match. It's a 6-person match this year. I think they're going to do a battle royal, or maybe they'll do a battle royal in the countdown show, or they'll do the go home show, like maybe the go home SmackDown. They'll do some kind of last chance match with people to get the last spot. I think Finn could get that last spot. I think there's still a chance.
I can see that happening.
We'll see. But
that's the thing too, is it's hard to gauge now because of who's qualified for that match. Because I think at first I was like, you're kind of, there's like a surefire direction, but now the people that are involved, you're like, oh, this could go anyway.
Yeah, no, at first going in without a single person announced, I thought Sammy was going to drop the IC title to Gable and win in Canada, to be honest. I thought that was the move, but I guess that's not where they're going, and that's fine. He's doing great things with the IC title, so while we're on that topic, let's move on and chat about that real quick. So Sami Zayn comes out, first time since he retained the title one last time against Chad Gable. He comes out and says he wants to move on from Gable in the Alpha Academy. Braun Breaker comes out and is like, I want a shot at your title. And then it was about to be like set in stone that it was going to be Sami and Braun until Sheamus came out and said he wants a shot as well. So him and Braun are like, well, obviously you want a shot and I want a shot. Let's fight. So, I mean, obviously, with the two people these guys are, they're going to fight. So, we get a match with Sheamus and Braun Breaker, and Sheamus wins via DQ because Ludwig Kaiser comes out and attacks Sheamus. So Sheamus gets the DQ win, but it seems to me like they're moving to a fatal four-way right now with the title, and I think that's where they go for Money in the Bank. I think they get Sammy, Kaiser, Sheamus, and Breaker in a four-way. That way we can have all these people in the title scene, and Ludwig Kaiser can eat the pin. So I'm glad we figured that out. There's also one spot, super cool spot, legendary spot, and so Sheamus is on commentary side of ringside, and Ludwig Kaiser is at the end of the ramp near the ring. Kaiser's like, I'm ready. I got an idea. Brain blast. And he goes to run around Braun Strowman style to hit him with something. Braun Breaker is like, nah, I'm good. And he runs around the other way, meets Kaiser, and spears him before he can get to Sheamus. Breaker is a non-stop highlight reel, and I am loving it. I'm loving it.
I missed that on Raw, so I was out that night, and I did not understand the context of that clip when I saw the highlight on Twitter.
Oh, Breaker broke someone. Okay.
Well, because like Ludwig runs one direction, but Braun just like happens to run the other and kills him, and I'm like, what was the context of this? Now I know.
Now you know.
Braun Breaker is genuinely like the dude scares me. Legitimately,
bro's so good.
Legitimately, had Chad Gable beaten Sammy for the title at some point, I want him and Breaker just like in an Iron Man match.
Damn.
Give him an hour and just see what happens. It's like he's a freak talent, man.
Yeah.
Like he's not to the same extent size wise, but like he's Brock levels of scary.
Oh, absolutely. And he's crafty with it. And he's so fast,
that's
dude.
That's the thing, he's crafty. That's the part that scares me. So like famously when like with Brock Lesnar, for example, right? Everyone knows he played football in college. What a lot of people don't remember about Brock is that he was also a track and field star. That dude is fast as shit. And you kind of realize that like later in Brock's career when he would just run at you with the ropes and just pound you, right? You're like, okay, Braun Breaker is a different kind of fast. Where Brock is like aggressive about it. When you see Braun start to like really sort of achieve speed, like his spear is going to be the spear everyone remembers in a few years' time. Like
I agree.
Be like Goldberg, like Lashley levels of spear, even like Roman.
It already is for me. I think he's my favorite spear right now. Roman was, but I think
Roman
that I think that Braun's my number two.
Braun Breaker brings that's an alliteration you can't say three times fast.
Yep.
There's a kind of impact that reminds me so much of Goldberg.
I can see it.
It helps that they were both football players, so you kind of understand like how he positions himself for the spear. But,
yeah,
like,
it looks stiff.
Fucking speed. Like, what's that clip that was going around like a few months ago of an NXT show where Braun's running the ropes and like the ring actually shifts?
Oh yeah, he like does. Was it the one where he bounces off of each side of the ropes?
So he's bouncing off the ropes to get momentum, and you see the ring like literally shift.
It's crazy. It's
crazy.
The
impact of how fast this dude is, and you're like, holy shit. Like,
I can't wait because I think the way it happens is we get this 4-way at Money in the Bank, right? And Sammy pins Kaiser. So Braun doesn't eat the pin. Sheamus can look strong. Kaiser can eat another loss. He's not really built up yet, but he's like believable. So he's fine. He'll build up. But Breaker then says, "Hey, I was the one that called my shot first, and I had to fight at the same time as those clowns. I want my one-on-one match because I know I can beat you in a one-on-one scenario." And Sammy accepts, and at SummerSlam, Braun Breaker destroys Sami Zayn and wins the IC title.
Yeah, that's probably going to happen, isn't it? And I'm all for that. I think it's time to put a title on Braun. I know the last time we had a discussion about putting a belt on him, we were like, maybe it's too soon, right? But he's just too good not to put a belt on.
Yeah. Yeah, like, what else do you do?
Right now, obviously, but, like, he should be probably holding the IC title by now.
Yep, I could see it. See it. So then Breaker then shoved Sammy after that amazing spear spot, and then a pull-apart brawl ensued. The typical agents, referees, the gaggle of officials run out to try and break him up. So that's how that segment ends.
Will be a world champion in 10 years.
Yeah. I'm gonna jump over one quick point because I forgot to put it in my notes, but I remembered it. We finally saw the implosion of the Alpha Academy. So Chad Gable has a match with Braun Strowman. Braun wins. He calls in all of Alpha Academy. He starts to berate them. He slaps Tozawa. He takes Maxine's crutch and throws it out of the ring. So she's on one foot in the middle of the ring with nowhere to go. And Otis finally, he hulks up. He shoves him in the corner. He pushes him into the corner. And they all walk out together. Tozawa, Otis, and Maxine, that is. And then they cut to them backstage, and Gable's like, "Where are you guys? What are you guys doing? Where are you guys going?" And they're packing all their stuff. And Otis is like, "We're done. We're out. We're packing our stuff. We're leaving. We're not in the Academy anymore." So Alpha Academy is officially done, unless the rumor of the Creed brothers coming in revitalizes the Alpha Academy. Chad Gable is on his own.
I don't know if this revitalizes the Alpha Academy, if the Creed brothers are actually going to join Chad, or if it's going to be something completely different. With the same idea,
American Alpha, perhaps. Not Jason Jordan, obviously, but just the name American Alpha, because Alpha Academy just makes it seem like, oh, it's Chad Gable and his bunch of little tyke students, But the Creed brothers are
if
dangerous.
He wanted to, he could bring back American Alpha. Right?
Just the name, nothing else. The name and the branding,
just the name itself. Which, man, talk about a team that had all the potential in the world.
Yeah.
But the eventual dissolving of Alpha Academy was, I think, a little too late.
Yep.
Might be a little rough saying that, but
I think it was a cop-out. I think it was because they had the chance of breaking them up and having Gable win the title. I just feel like it was kind of a cop-out. It was, I don't know, something didn't feel right.
The whole, Otis standing up for himself is great. I love Otis just by himself. Dude's funny as shit. He can go. He can do some great stuff in the ring. I genuinely want to see, hopefully, if they book him right, I want to see them book him the way that Bronson Reed was booked when he was in Japan, when he was going by Jonah, of just this fucking on gargantuan monster,
the Okada beater.
Yeah, lest we forget, he's a fucking win over Okada.
Lest we forget, Jonah beat Okada.
G1 too, the
crazy.
Yeah, so Otis. I think for so long I was so him being a comedy character and not being taken seriously. I never saw him in the same light as a Bronson Reed or even Jeff Cobb. But
yeah,
you kind of see his aggressive side come out, and you saw it come out during this whole dissolution of Alpha Academy, and you're like, oh, now I kind of want to see how you book Otis like a Jeff Cobb.
Yeah,
no,
I can see it.
This hyper aggressive giant of a man.
Yep,
that just really likes throwing people around, and Jeff Cobb's pretty athletic too.
Yeah,
Otis can do a fucking moonsault. Why not?
Otis can do it. Yeah, Otis is more agile than we give him credit for.
Yeah, all those super heavyweight guys like him, Bronson, him, Cobb, even Keith Lee.
Yep.
I want to see what they do with Otis now, because I think there's a singles run coming in the future. I just don't know what direction.
Yeah. But in a serious one at that. Otis is going to be serious and not just Mandy.
Yeah. Or even with Maxine Dupree, I think she's improved so much.
Yeah.
Over the last couple of years, and man, the shit she was getting publicly.
I know.
But
I want the three of them to stay together, honestly. I think that Otis and Tozawa I think Otis and Tozawa could be a solid tag team. The underdog tag team, but actually good,
Honestly, I'd have them taking the titles off Miz and R-Truth.
Wow, I think it's Creed's, man. I think it's Creed's.
That's later.
I think it's the Creed's.
Hear me out.
I don't know if they have a plan, so I think they're waiting for a plan for the Creeds.
I think they're waiting for a plan, but I feel like you... So I'll make this quick.
You're good.
You take Otis and Tozawa, you make them team, you sort of have them be we don't need Chad, we can do this on our own, so they start winning matches, they start building momentum. Eventually Otis goes, I want to do something that I was never able to do under Chad Gable's wing, because Chad was so focused on himself, and that's trying to go for a title on my own. He's like, Tozawa, we should go for the Raw or the fucking World Tag Team titles. And he goes, okay, yeah, we should. So I feel like what happens is they beat Truth and Miz at some point, hold the titles for a little bit here and there, and they're talking about, like, you know, we didn't need Chad Gable, like, everything he told us was a lie, and, like, we finally saw through everything. And just as they're, like, celebrating, who attacks them but the Creed brothers with Chad Gable.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's how you set up two things. That's how you set up the eventual Creed brothers winning the tag titles, and that is how you set up the Creeds working with Gable.
I could see it.
Gable goes, oh, that's how you're going to be? Okay.
Well, hopefully I remember. I do have a quick note about how I think the Creed stuff is going to start out, but I think I have to talk about this very last segment first, because we're going to, after Jey Uso qualified for the Money in the Bank, we had a solid 8 minutes left of Raw. I'm pretty sure it was like 8 minutes, and I was like, whoa.
7 or 8 minutes left, yeah.
I was like, something is going on, and it was the typical Wade, I was about to say Wade Barrett, that's not it. Bray Wyatt, the lights going out one section at a time, the and the lights are going off, and then all of a sudden you hear the piano drone. Ding, ding, ding. Lights go down. Bray's door is there. The forbidden door that Bray Wyatt brought in on his latest run was there with the blue light behind it. The door opens, but the light turns off. The light is out. And then out crawls a woman who's looking pretty rough. She's looking like a zombie of some sort, and she's crawling out, and she crawls out to this lantern that's sitting on the stage, and she picks it up. And then she like looks at it and kind of covets, like she's like obviously coveting this lantern. And then she points toward the backstage area. Now the cameraman follows where she points to the backstage, and he goes through the tunnel entrance and turns a corner, and there's a pile of bodies that are not the actual WWE superstars that we know, but they are very obvious, like stunt double look-alike type of things. I saw people that looked like Carmelo Hayes, like Gunther, like Braun Strowman, like different people that are in WWE and have characters, right? But the camera pans up, and it's wow, I can't even talk. Wow. It's Ramblin' Rabbit. It's Ramblin' Rabbit, played by Eric Rowan. Very obvious because you could see his red beard sticking out under the mask. But it looked crazy. He had like the hammer, like the Bludgeon Brothers hammer, except both sides said help on it.
That was such a
was
great.
It was. Yeah. It was. We continue walking backstage. We walk into Gorilla. It's destroyed. There's sparks flying. The lights are flickering. Things are turned upside down. More bodies, blood on the walls and on these bodies everywhere. And sitting cross-legged on a stage box was Mercy the Buzzard, played by Dexter Lumis, which so cool. It looks especially scary.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then we keep going. We walk through the curtain on the other end of Gorilla. And standing right at the other side, holding his face kind of like this, was Huskus the Pig, played by Joe Gacy from NXT. Again, I'm glad that Joe Gacy has something to do, and I'm glad it's something substantial, and I think that's something to be said about everybody involved. So we keep walking, and we finally see an actual WWE wrestler, not just the stunt double, leaning against the stage box, unconscious, with a head wound that's bleeding. And that person is Chad Gable, which they alluded to in the build to all of this by saying that their target was someone with the initials of CG. So, makes sense. And then the camera pans up to the end of this hallway, and standing in front of a blue light from the one in front of the door was Uncle Howdy, which is played by Bo Dallas or Taylor Rotunda, which is Bray Wyatt's real-life brother.
Which, I'm liking the new look for Uncle Howdy. Ditch
I
that
agree.
Black mask, like a little closer to the Fiend. Like, okay, this is working. I like this.
Yep. Yeah, I agree, and I like that they got rid of the full mask. Like, because when Bray first returned, he kind of had the Uncle Howdy mask on, but it was a full mask, and nothing moved. There was no holes or anything. You couldn't see anything. No eyes, nothing. But with this, they opened up the mouth area, so it's like from the lips down, you can kind of see his lip and everything, and like his mouth, so you can see expressions actually coming out from behind the mask, which is great. So Uncle Howdy leads the soldiers back through the backstage area toward the stage, and as he passes each one, they kind of file in behind Uncle Howdy. They all 5 of them group up in front of the door. Howdy looks down and picks up the lantern. He says, "We're here," and in traditional Bray Wyatt fashion, he blows out the lantern as the show instantly goes off the air. Just like that, we had the Wyatt Six debut on Raw, and one thing to note is that they're called the Wyatt Six, S-I-C-K-S, and not 6 as in the number S-I-X. And I think that's intentional, and I think that is... there's been kind of some debate going on in the internet of who is the 6th member. Are they going to have a 6th member come in later? Because there were 5 of them. And my answer is no. I think they're called the Wyatt Six because the 6th person is a nod. The fact that they're called 6 is that they're sick in the head, but yeah. I think the 6th person is metaphorically Bray Wyatt, represented by the lantern that they'll be carrying.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm thinking on that. Plus, like, the Wyatt Six is a representation of Bray, right?
Yep.
Like, otherwise, these guys wouldn't be dressed as, the puppets.
Yeah.
They're not the human incarnations of the puppets, right?
Yeah.
And even then, like, God, I miss him so much.
I know.
Like, when the Firefly Funhouse was, really popping off and, all that, each puppet represented something in Bray's career, right?
Yep.
Like, those puppets actually meant something. So, yeah, it's interesting to see where it goes. Although, you know what I miss? I miss the one-off they did with Paul Heyman as a walrus puppet. You remember that?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Walrus or something.
I do remember that.
God,
I do.
They only did it once and they never did it again. I'm kind of bummed because, like, that was funny. But,
yeah.
No, like, what does each puppet represent? Like, you look back to the Firefly Funhouse match. Like, there's so much ridiculous lore that spans, or that had spun through Bray's entire career.
Yeah,
of, like,
definitely.
what the Funhouse represented. And now this is the Funhouse come to life. This is basically...
Oh, yeah.
That fucking door that was always behind him on set. That's the opening line for Dante's Inferno, "Abandon all hope, ye who enter here." Like, that door is open and hell has come out. And it's gonna fucking kill everyone in sight. And this is
crazy.
I feel like this is so much better done. I mean, just Triple H is in charge.
Yeah.
Then, like... when Retribution was the thing. Remember them? I don't want to, but you get the idea.
No.
Like,
oh, yeah.
The way this was done, they're going to be a threat. To who? We'll find out.
Chad Gable.
Chad Gable first. Yeah, they shot the man in the head.
Like, while I'm saying that, I think the Creeds are going to come into this story because I think next week... or in the weeks to come, but I think next week, because at first they wrote Gable out of next week's Raw plans, and then they put him back in the plans. So I think he's going to be in Money in the Bank because he's scheduled for a qualifying match that he was initially removed from. But I think he's gonna roll up on Raw with the Creeds in tow because he lost his protection. He doesn't have Alpha Academy anymore, and he's by himself, and he knows that the Wyatts are out to get him. So he's going to enlist in the Creed brothers to help him out and be his protection. And I think that'll lead to how we get to the new Alpha Academy, or the American Alpha, or this stable that they have with Gable and the Creeds in the dirt sheets. But I think that they need to be very careful with how they book them, and I think that they need to book them specifically to not want to win championships. I don't want them in a title match unless it's like very justified,
far away. Because I feel like that was the biggest mistake they made with The Fiend.
Yeah.
Was they were like, oh, he's fighting for... Why? He doesn't need them. He doesn't need the belt. He doesn't care about titles.
Nope. He shouldn't. Nobody should care about titles.
As a character to enact revenge on those that wronged Bray's career.
Exactly.
We didn't need him winning a belt and then having a really bad Hell in a Cell match. We didn't need him then defending that belt against fucking Goldberg. That swamp match with Braun Strowman. Like, what were we doing back then? That was a weird time. But like,
I have no idea what we were doing. I have no idea. I forgot that even happened. I forgot, and I'd like to forget because this was. This is the thing. They're very good with.
Things happened before we got the era of Roman.
Yeah, Yeah, and this is the thing with WWE. They're very good, and they have been very good with how to start the Bray Wyatt characters, right? And the Bray Wyatt runs. What they aren't good at is how to keep it going, because eventually it crashes and burns. It just, for some reason, they can't get it to logically fit into storyline. So
the problem I always found was their idea of booking Spooky Man always fell back on how they booked Taker.
Yeah.
But the difference is that the Undertaker character would go after world titles not because he wanted them, but because he wanted to take them from those that weren't like deserving of it or whatever the fuck it, like whatever bullshit you.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. Like,
and to take power away from other people.
Yeah, and to take power away from other people. Like, you don't set up, you know, and also, like, I love Bray. I really do. Bray's not like a Mania main event match level, like, half an hour guy. Or he was not, you know? Incredible talker. Like, my favorite promo guy on Earth. But, like, with Taker, it's different. But, yeah, I feel like they fell back way too much on the whole, like, okay, how did we book Taker? Okay, we booked, like, this. Let's try that. And it doesn't work the same because The Undertaker as a character just wasn't as... Like, he didn't have that viciousness to him that The Fiend did.
Yep.
Right? And now you have the Wyatt Six, and, like, the Wyatt Six showed up and fucking cleaned house and killed people. Let them stick to that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't even want him wrestling in a scheduled match. I just want him to attack people for right now and cut promos.
I don't know if saying his name is kosher on these things, but formerly of Wrestle Talk, Mr. Blampier and all his fantasy booking insanity, he had a really great video on how he would have booked The Fiend. And the one thing he said was keep him off TV as often as possible. You only bring him on when you need to. And that is to either set up a match or murder people. This is what they should be doing with the Wyatt Six. Don't let them be on weekly TV. If they're on weekly TV, it ruins the spectacle of it. Like, it ruins the mystery and the mirage and all the fucking scary bullshit.
I think they're going to do that. I think they've been very good with keeping people off TV that don't need to be on TV. The number one contender... The number one contender for the World Championship. Gunther hasn't been on television for at least a few weeks now, and that's fine. We know he's going to get the title. We know he's going to get the title shot. We know he's good at what he does. We know he could break people's faces and break limbs and make people hurt and win matches. We know that. We know that he respects the ring.
Exactly. He doesn't have to be on TV all the time. So with the Wyatt Six, when you have such a spooky-ass, like, genuinely, like, a threat, they don't need to be on TV all the time.
Exactly. No. Exactly. We can let him cook. We can let it simmer for a while. We can put it on a nice simmer. We don't need to be like frying it up all the time. You know what I mean?
No.
So that's how Raw wraps up there. SmackDown is great because I only have a couple of things on here that like big topics to talk about. A lot of stuff happened, but it was kind of like just kind of it happened and we move on. So real quick, let's knock some out. So for Money in the Bank qualifying matches, Carmelo Hayes defeated Randy Orton and Tama Tonga. The spot where Tonga Loa came out to try and help Tama Tonga win, Orton ruined those plans, but then Mello rolls up Orton out of nowhere and steals the win. So Carmelo Hayes wins that one and is going to Money in the Bank alongside Jey Uso. And also the WWE Speed Champion Andrade defeated Grayson Waller and Kevin Owens. It was a really cool spot. Where Andrade's in the ring, Grayson Waller is outside the ring, and he goes to do his Rolling Thunder Stunner that he does as his finisher, and Andrade caught him and hit that hammerlock DDT on him, which is crazy. It was a crazy finish, and Andrade deserved that.
I'm so glad that Andrade kept the hammerlock DDT because I love when he does it.
I agree.
It was a cool reversal to get the win.
Yep.
I find it fun that he is in the match. It'll make things interesting.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure this out. How do I actually feel about Carmelo Hayes being in this match?
I'm fine with it. He'll be great in it
too. I don't here's the thing, I don't hate it, but him being in the match definitely adds a little bit more intrigue of like
and he's been booked as a guy he's been booked like Money in the Bank winners of old, like the guy that is under the radar and loses a lot. but he's set up for big plans. So
Under the radar loses a lot, but happens to talk a lot of shit.
yeah, and
Right, and he
it's
needs-
between him and Uso and Jey Uso for me right now.
Yeah, and like I'm kind of seeing. I'm curious to who else ends up in that match, but yeah,
I think a Raw guy has to win though, or someone that's gonna cash in on the World Heavyweight title, because with Cody, it's a surefire bet you're gonna lose if you cash in.
It's specific now. I forgot about that. Or specific again, I guess. Right.
So you could have a SmackDown guy win if you plan to bring him over to Raw and cash in on the World title, but I don't know.
Yeah, because I don't think they're ever gonna do the whole cash in on a mid card title thing again. That didn't. God, people hated that.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Oh, I have a question for you. It's on the topic of people that cashed in. See
Let's
if you
go.
can answer this. So, in Money in the Bank history, right, we've had people win the briefcase twice. CM Punk, Edge technically, but he won the actual match once, and then
Yeah, Miz too.
technicality. Right. So, that being said, we know about those. However, on the other side of things, with people that have been cashed in, as far as I'm aware, and as far as I've checked the records on this, there's only one wrestler in WWE history who's been cashed in on twice. Who is it?
John Cena.
Nope.
Yes,
Is it
Edge.
Cena?
Edge cashed in on him, and Damian Sandow cashed in on Cena as well.
Damian Sandow cashed in. Okay, so there's two people. Cena's the other. I
Okay,
forgot about
okay.
that.
Is it Edge?
It is not Edge.
Oh man, I'm gonna get one more guess, and then you just got to tell me because I don't want to take up too much time. Is it Randy Orton?
No, but you're
Okay.
close.
Okay, just tell me
Drew
that.
McIntyre.
I was gonna say Drew, but I wasn't sure if
Drew
that was
cashed
Drew.
on twice,
Right?
because Drew got
Oh,
cashed in
I'm
on
dumb.
this year, and
I'm
then
dumb.
people forget about the Miz cash in.
The Miz cash in.
That led to
Yeah.
Bobby Lashley being world champion.
Could we get a three-peat?
Yeah.
Low key,
Massive.
Jey Uso wins Money in the Bank, and Drew wins the world title from somebody somehow.
I think if Drew McIntyre gets cashed in on a for a third time, that man better be getting like the biggest raise of his life.
For real. For
Like,
real.
Jesus. But yeah, no, like Money in the Bank
Wow.
is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
There's definitely a little more intrigue of who could win and like
Yep.
where things go. Because again, we've talked about this numerous times now, but the way that the world title scene is going right now on both brands, we don't know what the full direction is, but we know where things will end up soon. Like that title, the WWE title is not leaving Cody for another year, right?
It's not.
And then the World Heavyweight title is eventually going to end up on Gunther, but what happens after?
Yeah. And then and for the women, I mean, Rhea's going to win the women's world title, so good luck cashing in on Rhea. And then you have Nia potentially, you have Bayley right now, potentially Nia, and other people holding the WWE women's title. So there's options. And going back to that too, for the women's Money in the Bank matches this week, obviously we talked about Io Sky qualifying, but we had Chelsea Green qualify by stealing a pinfall. So Bianca went to hit. It was Chelsea Green. You know, they put that in her theme. Like they put the voice, the soundbite. They put the soundbite of Samantha saying Chelsea Green. It's so bad. No, it's so bad. It's such a Def Rebel thing.
Dumb. I know.
It's so bad.
God, I hate
Anyway,
Def Rebel.
so Chelsea Green, Bianca Belair, and Michin. So Bianca hits the KOD on Michin, and then Chelsea throws Bianca out of the ring and steals the cover and wins. So Chelsea Green goes on to the homeland of Canada for her and compete in the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. I thought she was going to face Bayley at Money in the Bank because Bayley just faced Piper. You know, you may as well and Chelsea's been the mouthpiece between Piper and Bayley for the most part. So it would have made sense for Bayley to then fight Chelsea. But I get it. Give her the show off. I get it. It's fine. So that's how those happened. But we have a couple qualifying matches for next week we'll talk about after, but let's get into SmackDown. So first off, CM Punk opens the show. He cuts a promo. It's kind of like house showy. It doesn't have any storyline effect involved. Like nothing happens to CM Punk in terms of storyline. So Paul Heyman interrupts. He wants to see CM Punk, and he asks for Punk to take Heyman with him because he's scared of the Bloodline. The Bloodline are not people to mess around with, and Punk's like, I ain't scared. I ain't scared of no knockoff Usos or whatever he said. So the Bloodline come out, they threaten CM Punk, and then Cody comes in with 2 baseball bats, one for each of them, to even the odds, and the Bloodline dip. And I have to say, for guys that are supposed to be these cold-blooded killers, not scared of anything, they ran real fast from 2 guys with baseball bats. I'm not going to lie.
We talked about this last week.
We did.
I'm getting more and more frustrated with this bloodline, and like you're supposed to be booking them as cold-blooded killers, and they are losing matches and running away from baseball bats.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's right.
Two of these guys were in the peak of Bullet Club.
Yep, and one of them is Solo Sikoa. But speaking of Solo Sikoa, Cody Rhodes challenged Solo Sikoa to a match in the main event, one-on-one. The match goes for about 2 minutes before the Bloodline get themselves DQ'd, which, again, I thought losing mattered, god damn it. I thought losing mattered, and here they are getting themselves disqualified. Anyway, Bloodline come in, Tonga and Tonga attack Cody. I'm just going to call them Tonga and Tonga forever now. KO and Randy Orton run in to join in the fight. Kevin Owens runs in on literally one leg, because this man hurt his leg bad earlier in the night. So it's 3-on-3 now. Eventually, the faces have the heels beaten. Solo is back down into a corner, and Solo's like, all right, you got me. And then he starts to bring his hands down, and there's a big smile across his face. So what's about to happen? So you slowly hear the crowd start to ramp up and cheer because they see somebody running from the crowd, and the faces get jumped from behind. So the camera cuts again to get a better shot of who it was, and it was Jacob fucking Fatu. Jacob fucking Fatu comes in here and destroys the top 3 baby faces, arguably in the entire company, in a span of 5 minutes. Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane.
The Samoan werewolf is here.
Corey had a great call at the end of that, too, where he was like, God damn it, there's a werewolf on the loose, or something like that. It was really great. It was really great.
This dude, and I've been hyping up for a while since we've been hearing that Jacob Fatu is eventually going to be in the company. I've been hyping this man up like crazy.
Oh, yeah.
He is probably the most athletic person in that family.
Yep.
Considering his size. He's actually lost a little bit of weight, too.
He looked a little slimmer from what I remember.
He got a little slimmer, and
yeah,
if he's a little more agile with that lost weight, I'm fucking scared of what that man's going to do in a ring.
I mean,
he's made highlight reels out of his career in MLW.
Yep.
With his pop-up Samoan drop, Umaga used to do, and his freaking ridiculous off the rope moonsault that he does.
Yep.
This dude's agile as shit. He can dive over ropes. He's got Kenny Omega levels of airtime diving over a rope. This dude's a fucking menace.
He's resistant to gravity. I swear gravity is
he absolutely
he's
is.
Immune. Did you see when he jumps off the top rope onto Cody, splashes him through the announce table, and the table breaks down, Cody falls down with the table, but he's still floating. There's a solid couple milliseconds where he's literally floating. He's levitating. It's crazy.
This is exactly what this bloodline needs.
Yeah.
And I'm glad they pulled the trigger in Chicago where you're going to get a good pop. Because I'm going to be look, Solo as a wrestler, he's good. He does the whole street thug thing perfectly fine. I wish they kept him doing that. Tama is a great wrestler, but can do the bare bones of a match and work a properly paced match well. His brother, fine. I'm not gonna talk more shit about him than I already have, but having Jacob Fatu, this is the guy you want going against your top 3 baby faces in the company. This is the guy you want potentially main eventing against Cody Rhodes. I know they're setting up Solo and Cody, but yo.
And I totally get why they were worried.
Jacob Fatu.
Yeah.
No, and I know people they were worried because they thought Jacob was gonna outshine the rest of the family.
No, he already did.
He was going to regardless.
He already did. It took 5 minutes.
And there's one thing to this whole thing that I do want to add to is there's still reports that Hikuleo, the younger brother of Tama and Tongaloa, is potentially joining WWE. He's officially done with New Japan Pro Wrestling, so maybe we could see him. And he's a freaking giant. He's 6'7" or some shit. He takes
massive.
Taku very well. And Zilla Fatu potentially joined the company as well. So now it's how are we going to organize all these Samoans and Tongans? Where are they going? How is this going to set up? What I want to bring up is something I found really interesting, and this I think shows the human side of Roman Reigns, despite Roman not even being on TV, and he hasn't been since literally the nights before Mania. Paul Heyman, I think it was like in a backstage promo when he was with Solo, he told Solo specifically, before the tribal chief left, he said two things. No one touches CM Punk, and Cody is his when he gets back. The CM Punk one is the one I always found interesting, because apparently, as Paul Heyman says, Roman made a promise to Paul Heyman that so long as you are still the wise man, like, out of respect that you have in your friendship with Punk, I will not go after CM Punk. Tyler, you're muted right now.
Yes, I was letting you cook. I didn't know if that was the time for me to jump in. God damn, that was great.
Really, and
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, so I caught that in like the highlights, but I was like, that shows that human side of Roman. I think that's starting to set up this eventual babyface return we get for Roman Reigns. Which, like, oh man, that when he comes back, that's going to be something to watch.
It also helps to drive the narrative that this bloodline, even though they are scared of everything and anything, including winning matches, apparently, because they make themselves lose every week, that they're loose cannons. You can't trust them. You can't. Exactly, you don't know what they're going to do. Like, you really don't.
And, like, it makes you realize that Roman's bloodline did everything with a purpose. They never attacked anyone for the sake of attacking anyone. And, like, if you get the time, Pete Quinnell from Wrestle Talk did an entire historical video on the entire history of the bloodline from start all the way to the end, right? And I decided to watch it a couple days ago, and I was just like, getting some shit done. And at some point, I kind of realized, like, oh, yeah, the bloodline was never actually, like, heel. Like, yeah, they were all heels, but they never, like, they wouldn't attack anyone unless it was called for.
Yeah.
That's unless you were messing with Roman, they would have no reason to hurt you.
Yeah, Roman had the challengers coming to him. I mean, he was also champion, so people wanted to challenge him. But if he wasn't, and no one bothered him, he wouldn't have done anything. He would have just shown up and got a paycheck and left.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, the bloodline needed a reason to hurt someone, if need be. Whereas this current era of the iteration of the bloodline is like, we'll just attack anyone, even though we're afraid of our own shadows.
Yep.
So
exactly.
Yeah, but no, they're just, I don't know, the whole, like, out of respect for Heyman, they don't go after Punk thing. Maybe really think about it for a minute. Yeah,
that was good. I'm glad you brought that up, because that actually makes it a whole lot deeper too, and not just willy nilly. And it wasn't just because Punk was there. You know what I mean? It was like there was a reason for it.
Yeah, well, it even harks back to when Paul got inducted into the Hall of Fame, right? Roman even said it. There's no tribal chief without the wise man. And, obviously things are said during the Hall of Fame speeches and whatnot, but, like, it's not like Roman said anything against Punk. The fact that Punk sat beside Heyman's family at the Hall of Fame ceremony, or, like, Heyman brought that up. It was a whole thing. Like, he acknowledges, for lack of a better word, just how close CM Punk is to him. And Roman respects that, which is insane.
It is, and it's a testament to the influence that Paul Heyman has. And it's realistic. It's realistic. It's logical. It's logical. Of course, if you had a manager, you wouldn't go after their former clients that they're still friends with. Like, of course not.
Because, like, this is just getting out of hand. But, regardless, it's one of those things where, like, I need Jacob Fatu and Cody to have a match, like, now.
I'm scared of that, because I think that right now Jacob Fatu is the biggest threat to Cody's championship. Not Solo, not The Rock.
I need those two to, like, just tear it up for 20. Like, I need them. I know for a fact, just out of, like, the stupid shit Cody Rhodes has done in his career, that if you told him, hey, we're booking you in a steel cage match for the world title against Jacob Fatu, Cody is going to ask, can we both do a moonsault off the cage?
Yeah.
Into a table, on fire, like, everything.
Right. Now, also to bring it back to where we're at now, where I think we're going to go trajectory-wise, I think we're heading toward Money in the Bank. I don't think Cody's going to have a WWE title match, but I think he's going to have a match, and I think
he'll be there, yeah.
I think they're building to a six-man tag. I think they're building to Cody, Orton, and Kevin Owens against the Bloodline, and I think the lineup, now that Jacob is here, is it's going to be Jacob Fatu and the Tongans. I don't think that Solo's going to have a hand in it, unless
So-
they could go wild and throw CM Punk on the face side and throw Solo on the heel side. But I don't think they're going to do that. I don't think they're going to do it.
I want to bring up something since you mentioned that. This was posted on X or Twitter, whichever one you call it. I quite frankly don't care because I will always call it Twitter. It's always Twitter. This was posted at 11 p.m. 2 days ago on the 21st of June from Hang 'em High on Twitter, who, you know, fairly well known in the wrestling, in like the Twitter wrestling scene, and, you know, a lot of people follow his shit. But he posted a photo of the ending of SmackDown, and it's, so if you picture like my four fingers, right? Solo, Jacob Fatu, and then Tama, and then Tongaloa, right? And now, the way, I don't know if how it was angled, because I think it was the hard cam that got this shot, but it's Solo and Jacob in the middle doing the, you know, the acknowledgement of the bloodline, and Tama and Tonga are both looking at each other like, where the fuck did he come from?
I peeped that too. They look like, especially Tongaloa, he was like, he especially was like, are we doing this right now? What are we doing? It looked to me, and this was the thing too. I forgot to mention this in all of my notes, but throughout the night, Solo was telling Heyman, deliver them this message. Did you tell them this? Did you tell them the message? Did you give them the news? I think that was when I was like, okay, I think we're getting Jacob Fatu tonight. And I think that's the news that he was trying to give. But I think that they were still caught off guard with it. I think that Solo is still going rogue.
I think part of it, and I want to agree with your point that I think Solo's going partly rogue, but also I think they're going to eventually pull the card of, you guys aren't actually blood related to us. You know that, right? Like, at the end of the day, the Tongans are not blood related to the Anoa'i family.
Yeah.
They just happen to be blood brothers because the Haku and the Wild Samoans are boys. And we're, like, best friends. Like, you guys are
wild.
Our actual cousins.
It's wild. It's wild. One of them was adopted too, I think, too.
Tama Tonga's adopted.
I was gonna say Tama Tonga's adopted, but still like closely adjacent to the bloodline. I think they're cousins, but adopted brother.
Yeah, but like you get the idea is that like no matter what, you are not like you don't have the Fatu name, you don't have the Anoa'i name.
Yep.
Right. You guys aren't actually blood.
Exactly.
So that's why I feel like Solo's keeping them out of the loop, because they're at the end of the day. Solo's like, yeah, you're family, but you're not, family.
Yeah. I could see it. Yeah. I could see it.
There's so much that could happen, and god damn it, I need Roman back.
Roman will come back, but I think
back.
This is good. I think this is good. We're building anticipation so Roman can get the reaction that they want, and I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
Also, I can't remember who posted it, but someone brought up. I think it was on SmackDown this past week. Oh, it might have been Sean Ross Sapp actually from Fightful. That there was a shot of Cody going down the hall to go out to the ring, and someone, if it was Sean Ross Sapp, I believe it was, noticed that in the corner of that hallway, just sitting there in the dark, staring at him while he was walking over, were Gallows and Anderson. And I was like, where is this going?
Interesting. I didn't catch that. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, one last segment to jump to. I know we've talked a lot about Bloodline, and we could keep going. This could be an episode dedicated to the Bloodline. But so this wasn't to close the night. This happened beforehand. But again, sticking with stories, CM Punk, after he came out and did his talking bit at the beginning of the show, there was an interview backstage with Caleb Braxton interviewing Grayson Waller and DIY. And then all of a sudden they hear some banging, some commotion going on outside of a garage door that was behind them. And so they go to open the door, and Drew McIntyre is there after quitting 4 days prior on Raw, standing over a bloodied, beaten down CM Punk. And Drew carries him fireman's carry style through the backstage area. People are like looking at it like, wow, like this. They made it look serious, so that people are like backstage watching him carry him through the backstage area, through Gorilla, and out onto the stage. And the massive wave of heat was crazy. The boos were insane. So Drew drops Punk down on the ground, almost like, and I said this in my review video of SmackDown and Raw. You can check that out on the YouTube channel at Vacant Wrestling. He's like, almost like when a cat kills something, like your cat kills a mouse, and the cat drags the dead mouse to you, the owner, to present to you like, hey, I did this for you. Like, Drew came out and did that to the Chicago crowd with their hometown boy, CM Punk. Punk was bloody as hell. There was blood on Drew's knuckles. Like, the details in this was crazy. And then also, Drew knelt down and took a bracelet that CM Punk was wearing off of his wrist. So now there's this story of, what was this bracelet that Drew took from Punk? What does it mean to CM Punk? And how is it going to factor into this match?
There's an answer to that question.
Okay. I'm here for it.
So I do want to say this quickly, though. The shot of that garage door opening and Drew standing over Punk's body, cinema. Oh, beautiful.
This whole story has been cinema.
Beautiful.
I mean...
So, it's been more or less reported, I think, at this point by numerous people that the wristband that Drew ripped off of Punk's arm has the names of the two most important individuals in Punk's life. That being his wife and his dog.
Oh, what was his dog's name? Larry?
Larry,
oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Larry Mania coming at SummerSlam.
Yep.
So I think this was an easy... I mean, first off, this was incredible. Second off, I forgot to mention as well, Nick Aldis came out and, like, shoved Drew, which is also an interesting detail because Drew isn't employed. Aldis can put his hands on Drew, and then Drew shoved Aldis back. He can shove Aldis back, too. He's not an employee. He doesn't have to worry about catching fines.
Nick Aldis is getting more physical.
It's slowly building. I swear, it's slowly building towards an in-ring return.
Oh, yeah.
I want.
Even
you know how
like
like
a one-off, like,
you know how like Aldis was like how he announced Cody's opponent and it was Logan Paul for King and Queen of the Ring. I want him to do that again and be like, Cody, I have your next opponent. It's me. I'm your opponent. That'd be crazy.
I feel like that's gonna if Nick Aldis is willing to do it again, I feel like he's gonna do it because there's a lot of history between him and Cody. So,
yeah, there is. There is.
The Drew McIntyre thing. Like, this is. You know, I was telling a friend, a buddy of mine was telling me this a couple days ago. He's not vibing with this story right now because he's like,
how?
Well, because he's like, well, Punk's not wrestling. I'm like, that's the point.
That is the point.
Still the most over dude in the fucking company, and he hasn't wrestled an actual singles match on television in this company in 14 years.
That's right. That's right. They're waiting for this big match against Drew, obviously.
Yeah, like, that's what they're waiting for. And he was like, oh, but, you know, what about the title? I'm like, who gives a shit about the world title? It never...
Punk doesn't care about that anymore. That's the thing. No. Drew cares so much about it that Punk's like, I don't care about it. I just want to make sure it's not in Drew McIntyre's hands.
I think that's the thing that people are forgetting, is that this is not AEW Punk. This is not he's showing up here to win a title and be the big guy. He doesn't give a rat's ass about that anymore.
Absolutely not.
He just wants to show up. He just wants to have fun and fucking...
And help the new guys get better.
Yeah,
help the new guys get better.
He's doing a great job of that. But, like, man, this feud, when it comes to its eventual end at SummerSlam, that's going to be a fun time.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, and I think that's all this was. I think this is a way to... I mean, Drew quit, so he's not really going to be on WWE TV anymore for the time being. And I think Punk getting attacked here and getting stretchered out of the building... allows for Punk to be written off TV for a few weeks, conveniently, until after Money in the Bank, I think.
Conveniently, yeah, and it also still adds to the mystery of, is he cleared yet? Because he never said he was.
So he was about to say something about his health when Paul Heyman interrupted with his "ladies and gentlemen." So right. I think that's the shtick,
we still haven't gotten an answer from Punk if he's cleared.
I think he is cleared.
He is by now, but, like, you know, in story.
Yes. Yeah.
I think it's going to get to a point where Drew comes back, he's going to, like, talk shit about Punk, and Punk's going to fucking bash him like a cane.
Oh, you think that's what's going to happen? No, I think Punk's going to come back and cut a promo and goad Drew into coming back to the company to wrestle at SummerSlam. I think that's where we go.
Sense. Yeah, that makes more sense.
I think that's where we go. But I mean, either way, it's going to be cinema, and I'm so looking forward to that match. And honestly, at this point, I don't fuck the world titles. That match should main event SummerSlam, in my opinion. I think you should.
You know, I'm still of the... Did it SummerSlam that? Did it main event that SummerSlam?
I mean, come on, listen. Like, you're probably going to get Cody and Solo Sikoa for the WWE title. Who cares? You're probably going to get Gunther versus Damian Priest, and as good as Damian has been and as good as Gunther is, that's not the main event of SummerSlam, dude. The main event is Drew versus Punk.
This is another time where I wish Punk would main event a show that he probably should have, because SummerSlam 2013, that's what I was thinking of. Him and Brock. Genuinely believe that should have main evented the show.
Genuinely the shit. That match was great.
That match was incredible. That should have main evented SummerSlam that year. It didn't.
Yep.
But yeah, Drew and Punk, honestly, yeah, like Gunther can have his moment without needing to be in the main event.
Yeah.
Cody can get another win without needing to be in the main event. The fact that he's there is what's important. If you have to main event the show with one match, you main event it with Drew and Punk. It's a feud that everyone's been waiting for since Punk got back.
Yep.
And it's a match that we've been clamoring for more and more because, Punk got hurt and then Drew was like, oh, blah, 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 blah. Scotland and shit.
Scotland.
Yeah. Scotland.
That's right.
So here we are, right?
So here we are.
Just cinema, how this feud's going.
We're spoiled. This feud is feeding generations, and there are still many more generations to be fed by this feud. Now, next week, looking forward, we have qualifying matches for Money in the Bank. For the men on Raw, we have Braun Strowman versus Chad Gable, who is added, removed, and added again, and Bronson Reed. I think Chad Gable's winning. The fact that he was re-added just goes to show that they want him in the Money in the Bank, and I think Chad's going to win. For the other match, LA Knight, Logan Paul, and Santos Escobar, it's two options. I think the more logical one, Santos wins, but I think the other... I think that's more logical because looking on paper, it's two guys that are in a feud and Santos Escobar, right? But I think that it could be LA Knight. It could be LA Knight because I don't think Logan Paul is going to wrestle on Money in the Bank. But I think that they want to wait for LA Knight and Logan Paul until SummerSlam, and I think that they could stick LA Knight in the Money in the Bank match to hold it over.
So here's the thing. I think LA Knight wins. I mean, honestly, I'd rather Santos win because then you can use LA Knight and Logan to further their feud heading into SummerSlam. But alternatively, having LA Knight win this match and then having him go on to Money in the Bank, you can still further their feud. LA Knight gets close.
Oh, you could. Logan Paul flies from out of nowhere.
Logan is dressed as a fucking Toronto Raptor.
Fuck it, dude. You have two ladders side by side. LA Knight climbs up one, and he's grabbing a case. Who climbs up the other side?
Logan Paul doesn't even need the other ladder. He can just jump. That man's got, you want to talk about people that are great with aerial moves? Fucking Logan Paul.
Absolutely.
Let him just jump LA Knight.
Absolutely.
That's the thing. It probably is a case like that where LA Knight gets close, and then Logan does, good old chicanery and costs LA Knight the win. And then that furthers the feud of okay, if you're going to talk smack, put your fucking money where your mouth is. Let's go, you and me at SummerSlam.
Exactly.
Let's do
I'm
this,
with it.
Right?
I'm with it.
Yeah, it makes the most sense.
And for the women, we have three matches this week. Lyra Valkyria, Shayna Baszler, and Kairi Sane. That's a no-brainer. Lyra's winning. It just makes sense.
Yeah. My heart says Kairi, but realistically it's Lyra, isn't it?
It's Lyra. On SmackDown, we have two matches. Candice LeRae, Jade Cargill, and Tiffany Stratton. Tiffany's winning this goddamn match, so Tiffany has to win. She's winning the goddamn Money in the Bank, so she's winning this match.
100%.
Yep.
It's gotta be. I think it's gonna be one of those cases where Tiffany probably sneaks a win. Like Jade hits Candice with everything, and Tiffany just
it's the same. It's the same finish as this week's Chelsea Green match for sure.
Exactly right.
For sure. Or Nia helps. I think Nia could help. They've been kind of teasing an alliance. And then the other match is Naomi, Blair Davenport, and Indy Hartwell. I think Naomi wins. I'm torn between Naomi and Blair, but I think that Blair can recover from a loss, especially if she doesn't eat the pin. And Naomi needs a win, so give it to Naomi.
Yeah. I mean, Indy Hartwell is always fun. I think you don't put her in the match if Candice LeRae isn't already in the match.
Mm-mm.
And Naomi will make it interesting. You put the Money in the Bank matches, honestly, I think need all the star power they can get. The match itself is a cool concept. It has been for all these years now, right? But it helps when there's big names involved in that match.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you have the old guard of the Naomis and all that, and then you have Lyra Valkyria and Tiffany Stratton coming in. And I'm sure people would want Jade Cargill too, but I don't think Jade's ready for that yet.
I'm with it.
And also, Jade winning a Money in the Bank match to get an opportunity whenever she wants doesn't sound like a Jade Cargill thing.
No,
so we can just leave that alone.
It doesn't, right. And I think them being bitter about not getting in the match will further this Bianca and Jade feud. I don't think exactly. I don't see it happening. I don't want it to happen at SummerSlam. I think it's too soon, but if it does, whatever. I'm not going to be opposed, you know?
I don't know where else you could do it.
Right.
They'd have to do it. You can't... Jade's great, but Jade's not long-term booking great.
I don't think... Yeah,
long-term storytelling great.
Yeah, she's not ready for this yet, I don't think. She's ready for... She needed more time, I think, to hang out with Bianca Belair. I think they're going to make one more run at the women's tag titles first. That's my guess.
Booking, like, you know, when she was in AEW, their long-term booking was she had, like, a win-loss record of, like, what was 150-something or whatever. Like, just completely undefeated until Chris Statlander took the title from her.
Right.
That's... If you're going to long-term book like that, great. She doesn't have to do as much talking. She just fucking squashes people. We're done.
For sure.
Bob's your uncle. This is a little different now where she's got to hold her own. And you can't go longer than, like, a month.
Nope.
You know?
I'm with you.
And Jade's getting better. It's just... It'll take some time.
And I think it's a good spot to kick it over to a different company there. That's WWE for the week.
Are you talking about...
I figured we have these notes here for AEW, and I mean...
We do have notes.
You put these together, I mean, why not run through them? Let's do a Yusuf speed run.
So
let's
talk
go.
About this. Okay, so... Forbidden Door is just around the corner. It is, at the time of recording, this next weekend. It's next Sunday. As far as I know, nothing else is getting added to the card. And their go-home show is going to be... Well, their go-home Dynamite show, so their main go-home show is going to be Wednesday night in Buffalo, New York. That's something that I want to bring up in a second. So what I want to do is just quickly go down some things that I thought were, you know, noteworthy from the card for this past week on Dynamite. And then we can get in some Forbidden Door predictions, because that's where it gets fun. So, first things first, MJF and Roosh had a match to kick off AEW Dynamite this past week. It was commercial-free, which was cool. Part of the reason they had to do this was because, apparently, talks between CMLL and AEW, they did not want Roosh at Forbidden Door. I don't know what backstage politics goes on between the Mexican promotions, between them and AAA, but apparently it's to the point where, you know, it's a thing. And it harks back to, you know...
I'm assuming it's to protect their act, because at Forbidden Door, it tends to be like... And AEW... Like, yes, they host other companies' acts, but AEW talent are the talent that usually go over in these scenarios.
Yeah, exactly, right? So, you have things like that. Things I gathered from this was MJF is still over as all hell. He can wrestle... Like, people forget, since he was gone for so long, that MJF can wrestle any kind of match so long as he just, like, puts in the work. Like, he can do anything, and it's fucking hilarious that he can. He's still over, despite being gone for so long. People still love him. He's still talkative as all hell. And the go-home show is going to be in Buffalo, New York. And MJF happens to love Buffalo. Famously, one of my favorite promos he's ever cut was in Buffalo when he, like, basically assured that he was going to win the AEW World Title from Jon Moxley, which he inevitably did. And, of course, Forbidden Door is in Long Island, New York, where MJF is from. So that makes things a little more fun. Maybe he shows up, talks some shit, gets that Long Island crowd going. We'll see from there. After that, we had Pac versus Claudio Castagnoli for the first round of the Owen Hart Cup, which is currently going on. And there was something interesting that happened at the end of the match. So there was a series of roll-ups. And by the way, while this is all going on, Bryan Danielson is on commentary. So Claudio's Blackpool Combat Club buddy is there, you know, rooting him on and talking about the match, but obviously not getting involved. Because that's not Danielson's thing in the Blackpool Combat Club. He's not one of those guys that'll get himself involved and help Claudio out. He wants Claudio to prove this on his own. So through a really cool series of reversals and roll-ups that happen towards the end of the match, Pac ends up getting the reversal on Claudio, pins him, 1, 2, 3. Pac is moving on to the second round of the Owen Hart Cup. And Claudio looks really pissed off after the match. Like, he's looking angry, he's looking annoyed, he's like, God damn it. Like, this is ridiculous. And you see Bryan Danielson, like, shocked, actually. And he gets up from the commentary desk, takes his headset off, and you see him start to approach Claudio and tell him, look, it's okay. Like, these things happen, it's fine. And you can see Claudio kind of tell him, like, shut the fuck up, man. Like, don't badger me with this shit. And just leaves. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. To bring the question of will there ever be dissension within Blackpool Combat Club. I think we're starting to get there somehow. So Pac wins.
We'll see if that leads to anything.
Exactly, right? So Pac wins his match. He'll be facing off against the winner of Bryan Danielson and Shingo Takagi, which is happening at Forbidden Door next weekend, which, like, that's a match of the year contender.
That is a match right there.
That is a match. Like, they had a stare down on Dynamite. No words were said, and everyone's like, we are not waiting
I get the gist.
Yeah, we need this. So there's that, and there's going to be. I'm going to talk about a little more about the Owen Hart Cup in a second. After that, Daniel Garcia makes his appearance, and man, I need Daniel Garcia to be like doing something, please. So hopefully this potential feud is somewhere. He starts talking about wanting to go for a title, and his luck in AEW has been great, and he makes his statement clear that he wants to go for the AEW International title, which is currently held by Mr. William Ospreay.
Ah, yes, Billiam.
Yes, good old Billy Goat Ospreay. And so they have a little bit of a conversation. Daniel's talking about being a professional wrestler. Will says things with his accent, and there's the word bruv in between, and then blah, 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 bruv. You get the idea. But it made me sort of think about what the direction of the international title is going to be, assuming the direction of the AEW World title, which Tyler and I will probably get to afterwards, and we kind of talked about this with Tim last week. Does Will hold both belts if he wins the world title? Does he drop the international title? If so, where and when? Yada, yada, yada. I feel like this is the perfect time for Daniel Garcia to have a singles title in the company, to win it off someone like Will Ospreay. As to where, I don't think it's going to be... It can't be Forbidden Door because Will's busy. So chances are... Maybe at All In. Maybe at one of the shows before All In.
A little double duty?
Honestly, I think Will could pull double duty. If he, like, MJF did double duty last year.
I could see it.
People forget that MJF did double duty last year, but,
I could also see Will dropping it because Swerve interferes and costs him the title.
Right, and that pisses off... You just got my gears going in my head.
I was like, did something break?
No. I just had a really good idea. Okay, so we're gonna get that in a second. So there was that. On the topic of titles, the AEW Tag Team Championships, which are still being held by your executive vice presidents, Nicholas and Matthew Jackson, they had a tag title eliminator match against the Acclaim this past week, and the Acclaim got the win. They are now given a title shot at any point. I don't think it's going to be this next weekend, but it's at some point, which is cool because a lot of the luster of the Acclaimed has gone down over the last little while. Like, they aren't as over as they were like a year ago. It's kind of crazy how like they fizzled really quickly.
They got their tag title run, and it's very much cooled down since then.
Yeah, like they had the run, it was awesome, and then it cooled down after. They were doing trio stuff with Billy, which is great, and then they had that weird alliance with Bullet Club, which was really awkward for like a minute. Anyway, my thing here is I feel like we're going to get to a point where the Elite are going to hold titles, like each member of them. So obviously the Bucks still have the tag titles. Okada still has the Continental Championship. Yes, that one, okay. There's too many of those fucking things, man.
I had to give a thumbs up to confirm, by the way. They have too many mid-card titles.
There's too many mid-card titles. And Jack Perry, more than likely, is winning the other mid-card title, the TNT title, at Forbidden Door in the ladder match. So my thinking is they're going to have this run of, like, the Elite are truly, like, the Elite. They make this run of, like, we have these titles, look at us, ha 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 ha. And, like, eventually, like, a group of AEW, like, OGs band together to start taking the titles off them one by one.
Hi, guys! I think you guys are being a little mean. You could have a little bit better delivery, and you'd be a lot better bosses, and people would respect you more. Thanks! Bye!
Also, can we just appreciate how great of a comedy character Kazuchika Okada is?
Yes, no, he's phenomenal.
This man's in the back, he cuts off the Acclaim, and he's like, oops. Sorry, bitch.
Great. So great, dude. This man was the Rainmaker, absolutely tearing it up in New Japan, and now he's pushing buttons.
Literally, like, an entire company for like 7 years, and now he's just pushing buttons, dicking around. You're like, he hasn't been wrestling much, which is wild.
No, he wrestled 2 matches before he won the Continental title.
Yeah, and I kind of don't mind it, which is nice. But yeah, so the Acclaimed have this tag title shot. The Bucks aren't dropping it anytime soon. I don't know when they do, but I'm curious to see how they pull the whole, like, they've already pulled the whole hostile takeover of AEW thing. Now it's a matter of putting together a band of people. I think they're waiting for Kenny to get back. I think they're waiting.
I could see it.
Yeah. I also think they're waiting for Hangman to return, which is sooner than later, apparently, from what I've been hearing. But yeah, so that was happening. And then after that was, at least the notable thing for me, was a promo between Swerve and Will Ospreay heading into next week at Forbidden Door for their world title match. And the last time we talked about this, I had said I'm almost certain that Will's going to win at Forbidden Door and go into All In as the AEW World Champion. After this promo, I don't know anymore.
I think that they just gave us the case as to why Swerve will win.
I think so.
I think they're going to go with Swerve being a heel.
Swerve, and heel Swerve is the best Swerve. It really is. And the way he cuts his promos, like, everything about him is scintillating. Everything, like, it cuts through your skin when he speaks. Like he knows how to really get people. And there's something interesting someone brought up, that Prince Nana had said something to Will off mic, I think it was, about, like, we're going to embarrass you in front of your wife and in front of your son. And if you didn't know, Will gets very personal when his family gets brought up, especially his stepson. So he apparently had, like, gotten in Nana's face and was like, don't you ever fucking talk about my son. And I'm like, this is the angry Will Ospreay we need for this match. Like, these two are going to tear it up next weekend. And I think because of Will's anger, it's what's going to cost him. To which then leads to this next point. And to sort of add on to what Ty was just saying moments ago when we were talking about the international title. So Luke Owen and Ollie Davis from Wrestle Talk were discussing their predictions for Forbidden Door. And they were talking on the Wrestle Talk podcast about this promo. And they brought up the idea that Swerve is going to retain on Sunday at Forbidden Door, and Will is going to enter himself as the wild card entrant for the Owen Hart Cup, because the winner of that tournament is getting, a world title match at All In. Now, what I noticed was how the bracket is shaped. I think people were expecting it was going to be Bryan Danielson wins, Ospreay's champ going in. We're going to get the rematch of Ospreay Danielson, at All In. But with the way the bracket is, Danielson's on the other side of that bracket. Ospreay's on, assuming he is the wild card, it's not someone else like maybe Hangman Page. Ospreay potentially, goes in and goes, okay, yeah, bruv, I'm entering the tournament. I'll take on Danielson in the finals, and then, I'll get my title shot. To which I want to add Tyler's point, and this is something that could actually happen, is Ospreay defends the international title against Daniel Garcia. Swerve gets involved and says, you couldn't beat me, you're not retaining any fucking title. Right? Just fuck with Will. That's Swerve's whole thing. He loves fucking with people. Right? So he costs Ospreay the title, and Ospreay goes, okay, now we're making it, really personal. So Ospreay enters himself as the wild card in the Owen Hart Cup, goes all the way, beats Bryan Danielson, more than likely, in the final of the tournament, and gets himself one more shot at Swerve. I know AEW is not a big fan of doing the, 2 chances you get your moment thing. They kind of just do it, and they're like, deal with it. Mm-hmm. This will pay off immensely.
Will is the type. Will is the type to do it. And B, this scenario in which they have this wild card spot in this tournament where the winner gets a title match is perfect. Because it's not like Will is just like, I lost, let me have a rematch. Like, he's not asking for a rematch. He's going to earn it, No,
he's going to earn his way back, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm with it.
I think this is going to be really cool. This is going to be really, really cool.
I agree.
Yeah, so Dynamite was good this week. Except it was the lowest rated Dynamite in history.
That's crazy to me, because even I paid attention to some of it, and it was great.
That's insane.
I very much enjoyed what I watched of it. I watched the promo, and I watched Okada fuck with the production, and it was great. It was great. And MJF versus Rush was phenomenal. Absolutely great.
I could make a whole video about, behind the scenes, the broadcasting side of the business and things like that.
Yeah.
It doesn't help AEW when they are on Turner Broadcasting and TNT, but they're not a high priority this time of year for that network.
Yep.
Because they have other major sporting events going on, like, the NBA Finals were happening. The Stanley Cup Finals are happening for hockey right now, and they air on TNT has broadcasting rights for them. Like golf tournaments and all these other things that are happening. So AEW kind of gets pushed to the side, although they are going to be renegotiating their broadcasting deals. I think this year is when they're going to be looking. So, assuming they make the right moves, we can see some better viewership in AEW moving forward, which I hope we do, because their product's actually getting better. It's just a matter of, they kind of got to get their shit together, maybe build stories a little better, and Tony needs to get off Twitter.
That's right. That's right. All right, we're at the hour 50 mark. Let's do some rapid fire Forbidden Door predictions. Let's do it. Let's just one word answers here.
I'm just going to run down the card and we'll just throw it there. Ready?
Let's get it.
All right, let's start with this one. A trios tag match. It is the Learning Tree, Chris Jericho, Big Bill, and Brian Keith.
Hi, guys!
The team of... God, I...
So funny. It's so bad.
And they're going to be taking on the team of these three will kill you: Samoa Joe, Hook, and Katsuyori Shibata. I've got Team Joe.
God, I have no idea because I don't follow AEW. I'm just gonna throw it out there. It's Chris Jericho. I'm gonna go with the Learning Tree.
I know.
Thanks, guys.
I hate it. That's so stupid.
It's so good. It's so good. No. Oh, you saw it too? I got a screenshot of it. Don't worry.
You got a screenshot of it?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a certain someone's name switched out in that MJF match at Forbidden Door. If you're listening on Sunday night, because I might post it on Sunday night, go look at Wikipedia.
What the fuck? That threw me off guard.
So the next match is Bryan Danielson versus Shingo Takagi in a first round Owen Hart tournament match. Danielson. Great.
I love Shingo.
MJF versus Chris. No, I'm just kidding. MJF versus person. MJF. I don't even know the person's name. It's MJF.
I think they haven't actually announced an opponent for him. It's Hechicero.
Yeah.
Luchador from CMLL. Yeah. It's going to be MJF. Yeah.
Jeff Cobb versus TBA, mystery opponent for the New Japan World Television Championship.
So that will be announced the day of. I think that's going to be a mystery, surprise appearance or a surprise opponent.
Who is it?
I'm kind of curious. I don't know. That's the thing. I haven't heard any leads of who it could be.
Kenta? Is he injured? He's quiet lately?
He's healthy.
Could be Kenta.
No, it would have to be someone from AEW because Jeff Cobb's representing New
Japan.
Oh,
I see. You're right.
Yeah, it would have to be
interesting. So, I have no idea who that could be. I don't think the title changes hands though.
No, I doubt the title changes hands. But on topic of title that should change hands,
so Jeff
Moxley
Cobb
will be defending the John Moxley will be defending the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship against former champ Tetsuya Naito. Naito's winning that.
Yeah, Naito. I was thinking Naito wins.
We brought this up last week, but with the G1 coming up and Naito announced for the G1, the idea of the IWGP World Champ not being in that tournament is really awkward.
Absolutely. I'm with, and they need to give somebody that's not AEW a win.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Zack Sabre Jr. versus Orange Cassidy. Nothing on the line. That's going to be such a fun match. I've got Orange Cassidy.
I'm thinking Orange Cassidy. It wouldn't surprise me, depending on who else wins the other matches, if Sabre Jr. won a match. I feel like he doesn't win enough. I feel like he needs to win more.
He really doesn't. That boy deserves a good couple wins here and there. You know what? I'm going to change my pick to Zach.
Dang. Okay, I'm going to stick with Orange. I'll stick with Orange.
Yeah. For the AEW Women's World Championship, you have Mina Shirakawa from Stardom going up against timeless Toni Storm. Mariah May will be ringside for both of them because there's this whole love triangle angle that they're going with, which
I see.
Is incredibly seductive for all the right reasons.
Wow.
Tony's winning.
There's
no way they put
absolutely
the AEW World Championship on a Stardom wrestler. So
absolutely.
Yeah. I think Tony's winning that and retaining the title.
Yep.
And this will probably help set up the inevitable feud between her and Mariah May, which we're getting there. We're getting there. On the topic of women's wrestlers, from New Japan Pro Wrestling, Stephanie Baker, from representing New Japan, but also CMLL, is going to be against Mercedes Moné, formerly Sasha Banks, of course, in a winner-take-all match for the AEW TBS Championship, so the secondary women's title for AEW, and the New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong Women's Championship, so their main championship on the American side of New Japan. I think Mercedes is winning.
That's a no-brainer. Mercedes is winning.
I think at this point it's a no-brainer that Mercedes is winning. Previous New Japan Strong Women's Champion. So it makes the most sense, and
Yep.
also it helps out. Like they'll probably have her doing some appearances here and there on on their shows anyway. So
Yeah.
it makes the most sense.
Plus, after you know, she just got back. She only wrestled a handful of matches. She shouldn't lose right away.
Doing much right now. So
Yeah.
Konosuke Takeshita, Mark Briscoe, Jack Perry, Dante Martin, Leo Rush, and a final entrant to be determined in a ladder match for the vacant AEW TNT Championship. All signs point to Jack Perry, right?
I would be surprised if anyone other than Jack Perry wins. The only other person I could see winning is Takeshita, but I think it's Jack Perry.
So I have 3 in mind, and my number 1 pick is Jack, because it just makes the most sense right now with how things are going. Like, you know what? Like, God, I don't like him, but, like, he's gotten pretty over, and he's getting a lot of heat as this whole scapegoat character. Like,
yeah.
It's working.
He's doing good stuff.
My second pick would be Takeshita, because it'll put a title on him. He's been looking great.
Yep.
And because he was just announced that he's going to be in G1 Climax, having
cool.
an AEW champion in the tournament. Now, obviously, it's not for another, like, few weeks at that point.
Yeah.
But that would be good for AEW.
Definitely, the representation would be very good.
The representation would be great for the company. My third choice is Mark Briscoe.
Wow, okay, the ROH World Champion.
Yeah,
Interesting.
the ROH World Champion, which, like, I like Mark Briscoe.
Yeah, he's cool.
Good dude.
He's cool.
You know, I think he's come a long way, and having him hold 2 belts would be kind of fun to watch.
I'm with you.
You have a guy who's, like, you know, very blue collar, very hardworking, down to earth. Like, he could fit that double belt holder, much like Eddie Kingston was.
I was about to say it would give very much Eddie Kingston vibes.
It would very much be the Eddie Kingston vibes. So, like, I think we can agree on Jack Perry, though.
Yeah. Okay.
This match.
Solid.
And finally, for the AEW World Championship, I am assuming this is main eventing the show.
Yeah, I can't imagine it wouldn't.
This has to be. Swerve Strickland will be defending the title against Will Ospreay. But when the next time we record this podcast will be after Forbidden Door.
Yeah.
Meaning whatever we say now, we keep, or we're bitches.
I'm gonna go Swerve.
I think I'm gonna have to go Swerve.
I don't think they're gonna blow their load right away on Ospreay. I hate to say it like that, but I don't think they're gonna do it. I think they're better than that, and I think they know better than to do that.
Well, because you have the greatest opportunity in the world for him to win the biggest title in the company on his home soil.
Yep.
So you want that to simmer and, you know, do it there.
They're gonna have Will Ospreay finish the story at All In.
Yeah, exactly. Which will be interesting, because Will now have back-to-back years at Forbidden Door of high-profile matches. This year is against Swerve for the AEW World Champion. And last year, which I was very fortunate to witness live in Toronto, his match with, for the IWGP US title against Kenny Omega. Their rematch from Wrestle Kingdom.
God damn.
Which, like, genuinely, man, the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Damn.
41 minutes of just, like, holy shit.
I'm going to have to go with Roman and Cody at Mania Night 2 for mine, but fair enough.
Oh, yeah, of course, that's fair. But, like, yeah. I think Will's putting up a good resume in AEW, and I think it'll cap off with him winning the world title at All In.
Agreed.
But for now, we just let things, you know, work out with Swerve, and we keep building and building and building.
Yeah.
And I think that's everything on the card. If they announce anything else, it's going to be on the pre-show, and I'm not going to give a shit.
That's right. Now, just one last little segment here to kind of segue into the end of the podcast here. We brought it back last week. It's your favorite segment and mine. It's Best in Wrestling. My Best in Wrestling this week. I'll go first, and I hate to steal it from you, but I think you have more options this week, depending on... I know your tastes. I know what we talked about here. I'm going to go with the Wyatt 6 debuting. It's so easy. It's so good. Go back and watch it again. Just do it. Just do it. Do yourself a favor. Treat yourself. Spend the 10 minutes and watch it again. It's so good.
It is a really well done debut. Well, you took what I was going to say.
Damn it.
So I'm going to go with the thing you were probably going to say if you didn't take the Wyatts, and that is the debut of Jacob Fatu.
I thought that's what you were going to go with initially. That's why I said the Wyatts.
You can't, you know, in years past when they debuted Solo, or when they brought in Tama, or when they brought in his brother, the debuts were like, oh my god, it's this person. Cool.
Yeah.
They didn't really do much other than interfere in a match.
Mm-hmm.
But Jacob Fatu showed up and just cleaned house.
3 of the biggest baby faces in the company.
And this isn't him plus Bloodline clean house. No, this is him by himself. Cleaning house against the top 3 baby faces in the company.
Like, Solo looked to him to save his ass.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That is how you bring in, like, a monster level heel.
Agreed.
Yeah. And he's a heel that isn't the prototypical look of a heel. Like, he is big, but he's not, like, gargantuan, humongous, like, kind of thing. No, he's freakishly athletic. He's fast as shit. And, like, he will drop you in seconds. This is the kind of heel we've needed for the Bloodline.
Yep.
Like, man, I can't wait for the day he has a match against Cody. Fuck, I want him to have a singles match against Roman.
Yo. Is Mania 42 about to go crazy?
Dude, like, but Jacob Fatu is my best in wrestling for this week.
Hell yeah, man. And what a great... And for that to be the best in wrestling for the week, for these 2 choices... Wrestling was a really fucking great week for wrestling fans.
It's been a really great week.
So,
it's going to be interesting how next week is, considering...
Do they top it? Do they top it?
I don't know.
We'll have to wait and see.
You can.
Yeah, I don't know.
Although...
We have Money in the Bank next week, and we have Forbidden Door on Sunday.
Well, because, what is it? Is it next week's SmackDown that's at Madison Square Garden?
Yes. Sorry, I got my weeks mixed up. So I'm going to be at SmackDown with Emil. I was going to say Tim, but you know him as both. On Friday in MSG SmackDown, and then I'm taking a plane the week after that to Toronto to go see your boy Yusuf, and we're going to go to Money in the Bank, SmackDown beforehand, NXT Heatwave. So the podcast might be a little interesting the next couple of weeks because your boys are busy.
Fun.
Your boys are seeing live wrestling.
As we wrap up though, before we close things out, I want to give a shout out to Kayla Braxton.
Oh, agreed.
Has been such a great interviewer for WWE.
Damn it, that should have been my best in wrestling.
Many years. Honestly, I think that it's definitely one of mine. But she announced that she is going to be leaving the WWE to new ventures in life and whatnot. Apparently, she's been sought out by a lot of media companies and a lot of agencies to do work.
Makes sense.
So good for her, man. She's put in the work. She made the bump fun. I don't think I had ever seen Paul Heyman like joke with someone.
No.
Before, but she has a great interview, by the way, that she did with Chris Van Vliet. It's up on his YouTube, and it's a fun interview to like get like a backstage, literally like look at what her life is like as an interviewer in the company. Like the wisdom she's gotten from Paul Heyman and, everything she's learned being in the company. Her last show will be at Madison Square Garden, which I think is a really cool send-off. And so, I just want to give my, my 2 cents and my shout-out to Kayla Braxton. Thank you for everything you did for the WWE, and, best of luck wherever you go.
Well said, man. One of the best sports broadcasters that WWE has had in some time. So you will be sorely missed. Best of luck to whatever you do and move on to do. You're going to do amazing shit, so... We here at Vacant Wrestling Podcast support you. And we here at Vacant Wrestling Podcast also want to thank you all for watching today's episode, or listening if you are listening, wherever you get your podcast. I have a little activity for you all. If you are listening to us today on Spotify or Apple Music and you're already following us, that's great. Go ahead and go to our YouTube channel, Vacant Wrestling on YouTube. Hit us with a subscribe. Hit that bell icon. Make sure you're notified of all of our video drops. And go ahead and find us on TikTok at Vacant Wrestling and give us a follow there. Those are the real platforms that we're really pushing right now: YouTube, TikTok, and podcasting. It's been a blast doing it for the last couple of weeks. We're slowly and surely building up a community here, and I'm very much looking forward to it. So if you're listening, do all that. If you're watching this on YouTube and you're already subscribed, thanks for doing so. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell icon. Go find us on Spotify. Go find us on Apple Podcasts. All those places you can find podcasts. We are Vacant Wrestling Podcast over there. And if you found us on a TikTok clip, you probably won't even be hearing this. So, y'all, thank you so much for tuning in this week. We really, really appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being a part. If you stuck it out for the 2 hours, thanks for listening. And from us to y'all, we'll see y'all on the next one. Have a good week. See you later.
Peace.